what I did know at the time was they were trying to force a wedge. They didn't want someone like me around Tupac. They didn't want Mo, his brother, around Tupac. They didn't want outsiders around Tupac. And they were pushing us away. And we would tell Tupac this issue, and his response was, basically it was him justifying their actions over ours. It was like almost like where if it was anybody else, he would raise hell because he was a great spokesman. You know, he was like, motherfuckers, you know. But when it came to Suge, he just rolled with the punches and came up with some bullshit. Like like if you know Tupac, you know when he's telling you something straight that's bigger than life and real, or you know if he's leading you a line of bullshit. He didn't have our back. And I'm like, you know what? The stakes are too high. He's getting too high. It's not fun. I'm not having fun. They're not paying me when they're supposed to. They're trying to pay us with gifts and shit and not cash. And this isn't what I thought it would be.
This is a Jmix exclusive.
Now, I've talked to a lot of people and heard a lot of stories about people that work at Death Row Records. Were beatings commonplace? Did that really happen?
I don't think so. I think that when we were recording, the mood was fun. I think things were lighthearted. I heard about beatings from people once I got back here. Like when I got back to Sacramento, I heard that some guy got beat. And I heard a lot of shit at the fan after we left. Studios got tore up, and I heard a lot of shit. But when I was there, I remember I saw one thing. And it was almost like Suge was playing around with this one guy. He kind of felt this dude up pretty good. And he was trying to make a point. He was trying to keep everybody on task. And I think we were in New Orleans. And it was a situation where these girls had gotten in trouble. They got kicked out of Bourbon Street or whatever. And there was some guy who happened to see the girls getting in trouble. So Suge made an example out of that guy. And it was kind of uncalled for, and DJ Quick ended up saving that guy's life. I don't know if Suge was really going to hurt him, but he banged him up pretty good. But it wasn't a normal thing at all. It wasn't. It was just this one particular time that I remember, and that was because something happened that created that. I don't know. Like I'm saying, people talk about it like it was violence going on, but I ran a recording studio myself, and I've seen more shit all the time at my place than I've seen at his place. You know, you see shit all the time, and that's the thing that struck me. Everybody talked about Suge, but you never seen any guns or him shooting at anybody or anything like that. You just saw him act a fool every once in a while, and it's kind of common in the black community to do that, especially if you're the lead dog. And for the record, as much as I wanted to hate Suge or be mad at Suge after everything settled, I had to ask myself, was he ever rude to me or asked to me or I seen him in intense situations, but he never treated me like that. And he was always pretty nice. I mean, I've had breakfast, lunch, and dinner with just him and Tupac, and it was a lot of serious talk about music, but it was a lot of laughter too. Now, there were some shady things that happened, like business-wise, that kind of threw me off. But as far as intimidation, he was much more of a businessman than a gangster.
Some people have said that there's two lines of thought, and I want to know your opinion if I could get it. One line of thought is that Suge Knight put a battery in Tupac's back, and Tupac was directing him to act a certain way. And another line of thought is that they were just a dynamic combination.
You mean Suge was put a battery in Tupac's back, and Tupac was acting a certain way on Suge's demands?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other line
is
that they had a dynamic relationship, and they just fed off of each other. And I wanted to know what your opinion is on that.
Both are correct. Let me tell you, both are correct, because I think when Suge met Tupac, it was like one of his first times meeting a real artist, other than the artists he saves, like Jodeci and the artists that he saw come up and stuff. But I think when you look at when you look at Snoop and the Dog Pound, those were more homemade artists who were like street gangsters turned rappers, and he found their talent and he honed it, and he put them with Dr. Dre and made them something. But Tupac was a whole different animal. He came from a style. Tupac carried himself a certain way. Like Snoop is very smart. I've hung with Snoop, and I've hung with all those guys, and a lot of them are sharp. Nate Dogg kind of kept to himself, but a lot of those guys are sharp, but they're just like normal dudes. But Tupac was kind of something different. He was a philosopher / actor / comedian. He had a soul that was big. And when they met, they hit it off. So there was a natural handshake between Suge and Tupac, similar to when I first met Tupac. It was like, who the fuck is this motherfucker? And Suge, I'm sure, experienced that. I could tell. Suge always wanted Pac to be around. Pac was putting on his best juice. Like for instance, Jesse, if you met Tupac, or you did, but if you say you had lunch with him or whatever, he is going to make you feel so special and so awesome in his presence. He's going to give you so much of himself. And people who met him got that charisma when they first met him, and they loved him. And as time went on, he became a little more dull. But he was always big for Suge, because he wanted to appease Suge. It's almost like he was looking for a father figure. And he really wanted to shine for Suge. And Suge loved it. Tupac was different. He was making this magic on record, and then, it's like this. He could go record a track at the studio, and then he could go hang out with a couple celebrity chicks, because he had the game, and these other guys couldn't do that. They just be like, they talk a mean game on a record, but they're just regular dudes. They don't have no game. Not to diss anybody, but Tupac was raised by the best from the Bay, and that Bay shit was very prevalent, and so that's the one side. But now, if you're a totalitarian leader, if you're Suge, which his nickname was Simon, if you're Simon and Simon says, we got to sell 2 million records tomorrow, well, you got to sell 2 million records. And like I said, I only seen one person get the felt slapped out of him. Tupac might have seen a few more, but Tupac knew that he's supposed to do what he's supposed to do. So I think there was a part of Tupac that would jump, like a robot, like you say. There's a part of Tupac that would definitely want to please Suge. And there's another part of Tupac that just worked well with him because a real game recognized game and real motherfuckers recognized real motherfuckers. So it was both. I don't mean to diss any of them people. There's like one person I have beef with, and it's the person who got me sued. That's Molly. I don't know if you know her story yet.
No, I don't. I was going to ask
we'll
you
get there.
about that album and about the lawsuit and about all that.
There's just so much. We go around one corner and so much can spill out. A year from now, you're going to be like, why didn't you tell me about this? I'm like, I don't know. We didn't get there. But, yeah. There's a lot of stuff.
Well, in 1997, I'm going to take it back a little bit. In 97, we heard of the Tupac Amaru Shakur tribute. What's the story behind that album? And what happened to it?
Okay. I'm going to try to keep it really short, and let me say it really fast. All right. Well, let's back up a little bit. I had just talked to Tupac about 3 months before, and I was coming home from a nice evening with a nice young lady, and somebody yells over my balcony, Tupac was shot. So, now a little backstory. Before I left working for Tupac as his assistant, I had hired an old girlfriend of mine that Tupac knew to clean his laundry. And he said, man, you need to help me find somebody who can, not a housekeeper, but someone who could do my laundry and stuff like that, who I can trust, that can go in my pockets and stuff. If I leave money or whatever, the right thing will happen, And I called up Molly, and basically I get her this job cleaning up for him, taking care of the affairs that I don't take care of. And when I left, she started being his assistant. She didn't really travel like I did, but she made phone calls and made things happen. So as soon as I hear the word that he got shot, I called her immediately and said, oh, my God, what's happening? So she became my liaison. And the peculiar thing that happened was, so I'm calling her as I hear stuff. She's telling me, I'm like, Molly, should I fly to Vegas? I wanted to fly in and be with the boys and just, be there. She says, no, it's looking good. He just woke up. And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm telling everybody in Sacramento, he's going to be all right. I called people, said this, and then the news came on that he was dead. That was my first thing, like, was she in shock? Why did she tell me that? Was she just trying to not make me come to Las Vegas? Because she's trying to keep me out. I don't know what she knows or why that was, but that was very strange. But I didn't think nothing of it at the time. I was just like, oh, Tupac's dead. I go into a tailspin. I lock myself in a room, and I'm just playing So Many Tears and I'm just playing his songs. I locked myself up for about 10 hours. Couldn't believe it. Anyway, so as weeks go on, we're hearing all kinds of stuff on the news. People are saying that his mom is broke. Suge Knight has all this money and she's broke. And friends are coming to my studio saying, hey, man, let's make a tribute album for her. let's make a way for her to get some money. And I'm like, okay. So I started letting all these guys record in my studio. I'm producing this album. And I called Molly and I said, hey, Molly, we want to do this thing for Tupac's mom. Can you give me her number or whatever? And she wouldn't. She said, well, send me what you have to this address and I'll give it to the lawyers and we'll figure out how we can get the money to her or whatever. No, I think the question then was, I wanted her input. I wanted Afeni's input on how to make this thing special for her. That's what our original thing was. Oh, boy. So about a week later, after sending, we sent a one sheet. Keep in mind, we haven't released anything, put anything together, but we put together a one sheet and sent it off to him, the tribute album for Tupac, Amaru Shakur, blah, blah, blah. And a week later, I got a cease and desist letter that talked about things like all my assets, my family, blah, blah, blah. And they set up a hearing. And at the time, I'm really ignorant to how all that worked. If I knew now what I knew then, I would have killed those guys. Not killed them like physically, but destroyed them in court because they didn't have a leg to stand on. But at the time, my father had IRS problems, and I was in charge of his trust, which was all his properties and stuff. And they were threatening to sue me. And they were talking about these properties and things. And I just wanted it to be over with. And so they're suing me. They come to Sacramento. They set up all these hearings. I go into the lawyer's office. They got these stick figures of Tupac. All these lawyers who didn't even know anything about Tupac, they're laughing and making jokes about Tupac. And I'm sitting there and I'm getting interviewed and asked all these questions. And, I'm telling it like it is. I'm like, I supported Tupac when no one else did. I was his mom when his mom wasn't around. I don't know if someone was offended by that, but I said that, and it was true. I was there for him. I was there for him in a big way. When he died owing me money. When he came up, a lot of it was on my buck. When he slept on my couch. When he taught me how to cook fried chicken that I bought. That's how it was. And in the end, it was similar to the same way because Death Row wasn't giving them all their money, and I had money. So I was busting bread sometimes. So it wasn't inconceivable that the mom didn't have any money. Come to find out later, she was a millionaire. But at the time, we thought she was broke. And these lawyers were hitting me from every angle. And I was like, man, I just want this to go away. And they wanted to know what I had, what masters, what videos, what blah, 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 blah. And I told them. And she said she wanted my original masters that I recorded of him. I had the first recording he ever made, and I had these other masters with these kids he was producing. But he had put his voice on the track. And to make the lawsuit go away, I agreed, hey, I'll give you anything you want. I have nothing but love for his mother. We're on the same team, right? So I want to give her all this stuff. And I said, all I want is a conversation with her. So I can, one thing I left out was they put me on the phone with her one time, and she got on the phone and she started cussing me out. Kendrick, how dare you do this and say this and do this? And then she hung up on me. I'm like, what the f-? So all this time, in my mind, I had really hated Molly because I thought she was evil, and she had did this thing where she could take over and poison minds, and how could somebody think that I would ever do anything but right for Tupac after I'd done so much good for Tupac at that point? you know, basically the evil man was winning the war. So fast forward 20 years from then, someone I was doing an interview for shed some light on it. He was like, you think, because my whole thing was I had always wanted a conversation with Afeni so I could tell her that she'd been getting hornswoggled, that Molly was pulling her chains, that I'm the one that took care of your son, and I just wanted things to be right. And after she died, it really killed me because I never got that chance to make it right, and I felt bad. But an interviewer brought it to my attention because he had been interviewing so many people, and a lot of the people had the same story. So somewhere along the lines, you know, these legal teams and lawyers, they know how to fuck people. And this interviewer told me it wasn't too inconceivable, but that whole thing was a ploy. When she got on the phone and her knowing my character and to jump to that. And I'm like, damn, I got robbed from my masters without even knowing it. It took me 20 years to realize that shit was a scam. So basically, Afeni fucked me over, and Molly fucked me over, and I was their first target. I was the center of the snowball.
This is a Jmix exclusive.
What up, shut up?